He impacted it in probably a really annoying way for offenses. His accolades back it up. He's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. He's an 8-time first-team All-Pro out of the 10 seasons. And he's made the Pro Bowl every single season in the NFL. Probably one of the easiest votes you could have cast in that capacity. He's been a cornerstone, Aaron Donald has, of that franchise. So how do you assess and hug a Rams team and their world that they have to move forward now without Aaron Donald?
Can I take a minute just to talk Aaron
Please
Donald?
do.
Opine.
Please do.
Empty the bag a little bit on what I've got. So this whole year, there was a feeling in that building that this was Aaron Donald's last season. And in that game against Detroit in the playoffs, where they left it all on the field, there was an embrace between Donald and McVay that I've spoken to McVay, and he was basically like, we had a feeling this was it. So all year long, and then he leaves it on the field there. And then in the offseason, they're like, let's give Aaron some time. But he came to them, and the two of them spoke, and Les Snead got involved and said, what can we do that's the most team-friendly situation that can also help Aaron for the future in a way that we think is, behests him the way that he deserves. So he will not owe the Rams any money on the way out here retiring. They've converted money. In fact, on Tuesday, the Rams restructured the deal, and that was the first week of free agency. They converted a $5 million guaranteed roster bonus to a signing bonus, and then they converted really the bulk of what that was into an option bonus, which drops the base salary that Aaron Donald's supposed to make to like $1 million. So it's not going to cripple them on the salary cap. He is going to get some money on the way out, and it'll likely be a post-June 1 move to avoid any other prior payments. That's all salary cap talk. Let's talk about the human being. You want to talk about a guy who lived, breathed, and embodied LA Rams football and also St. Louis Rams football. It was this guy. And McVay was just over the top with like, what an important part of his life he's been. He got there as a young 30-year-old head coach, and Aaron Donald was the best player in the team. And Aaron Donald's like, come right under my wing, I got you. And then from there, the two of them soared, and everything came around with it. The Aaron Donald impact for the future is interesting because you'd like to think that that defense, he had a chance to mold and mentor some of them. But I also think that they've created salary cap room. They've made some position changes here that they're going to maybe change the look of their team just a slight bit. Raheem Morris is no longer there as a defensive coordinator. Chris Shula gets the elevation. We'll see what happens with the defense. I look at the offense. McVay's a genius, and I just said I spoke with him, so this is not me buttering up to McVay. I'm telling you, this man looks at things 2, 3, 4 years down the line. And what they did quietly this offseason on the offensive line is something that he's been kind of stewing about this past year. Take a look at what their offensive line is going to look like this season from the interior spots. Jonah Jackson's going to play one guard spot. He's 6'4", 311. Steve Avila, 6'3", 332, is going to play center. And Kevin Dotson at 6'4", 321 is going to play the other guard. That's 1,000 pounds of man right there that they are really excited about. Jackson, of course, they brought in. Dotson they got on the cheap from the Steelers last year. And Avila was their draft pick last year. So you have these three guys. And the feeling is, let's keep Matthew Stafford upright for the foreseeable future. And let's run the ball with Kieran Williams. And while the rest of the world is going spread offense and spread it out, we might be a team that's going to maul you, and we're going to ground and pound you, and we're going to trust our defense to hold the fort as well. But I think this is a bit of a changing of a guard, but as much of a transition without blowing everything up as possible. When you lose a guy who is 8-time first-team All-Pro out of 10 years in the league, there is no replacing that player. But when you have a heads up, and the team was aware of it, and they're not blindsided by this, there was a chance to sort of prepare both salary-wise and on the field-wise. Their defense will certainly take a hit without Aaron Donald. He was awesome last year again. In fact, the only 2 years he wasn't All-Pro was his rookie season and the 1 year that he was injured. So he was All-Pro again last year.
That's crazy.
So you have to fill that void. You're not going to. You're going to try your best. But I do think as smooth a transition as possible for a star player retiring after 10 seasons, that was the case with the Rams, and there's no hard feelings, and there's nothing but love. And we were talking about what he'll do next.
Yeah.
I think he'll be okay on TV if he wants, and he can maybe go coach if that's what he wants, or he can just go into. I am not kidding. Him being in Hollywood for the last 10 years, I look at what's the wrestler? John Cena. I look at The Rock. I look at what some of these other, Travis Kelce's going to be getting to do. Like, I could see Aaron Donald with his body, his physique, and his place in LA potentially having some sort of Hollywood career too, whether he wants to approach that or not.
Cool.
So they really expect. I look at Aaron Donald. You just said it, All-Pro again this year. How well he played, and everybody in the building kind of had an idea.
But it was like we knew this was definitely
so
the
crazy
conversation. And what they're proud about, and this is such silly media stuff, but that it never got out, and that somebody in the building had a feeling, including the players, and it wasn't a topic of conversation. It was a topic of conversation 2 years ago, and that was real. He almost retired after the Super Bowl. That was very real. But it wasn't really buzzing in the media, and it certainly wasn't leaked out of that building, and they take a lot of pride in that.
It's always crazy to me as a former player. I never got to play to the level of an Aaron Donald, but it seems so hard to walk away when you're still at that extremely elite level of play that he was at, where you're unblockable, you're making so many plays. If each team that comes in knows that you're the #1 target that we have to stop to win the game, and he's able to come to terms with it, be at peace with it, and walk away at the very top of his game. And as I think of Aaron Donald, you go on social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, whatever you want, greatest defender ever played his game. Those are the words that are said about Aaron Donald. Now, you can argue with whatever other players in history, LT, but he's in that conversation. It's been so special. And I think the one cool thing I've seen over the weekend was all the shots of 3 or 4 offensive linemen all blocking Aaron Donald at once. It just shows the level of respect that everybody had for him on the football field and knew what a game changer and game wrecker he could be if you allowed him to do so. And with Aaron Donald, you look at the Rams and it's like, all right, where do they go from there? Peter just talked about from a salary cap situation and being prepared for what they thought might happen with him walking away for the game. I look at some of the guys that they brought in last year. We had them on our show. The conductor, Kobe Turner, inside defensive interior guy who had 9 sacks last year lining up next to Aaron Donald.
Could have very well been Rookie of the Year.
Very well could have been Rookie of the Year. Got a chance to learn from him and go out there and go to work. And you have an Aaron Donald in that building every single day. You better believe you're going to catch on and get all the knowledge you possibly can. And then also Byron Young, who had 8 sacks on the season for this Rams defense. We talked about it last year, where they were extremely young and they were making plays. And I think about what it had to be like in that D-line room, in that defensive meeting room, where you have the vet in Aaron Donald who has done it all, who you watched as a college kid, as a high school kid, and now you get a chance to sit next to him in meetings, see how he takes notes, see the questions that he asks, how he leads a room. And those guys got a chance to do that for a year, and now it's their time to take over and become some of the leaders within that team. So this young team, they're going to have to grow a lot, but man, what an example to have in Aaron Donald. Kyle, you got a chance to watch Aaron Donald up close and personal. Where do you think the Rams go from here?
Well, I'm laughing at all the pictures that you're laughing at too, Jay, of 7 guys blocking him on a given play. It's a hard position to dominate from, defensive tackle, because some coordinator can just snap his fingers and there's 3 guys blocking you. Safeties are always going to be in space. Linebackers have a lot more freedom to run around and make plays. It's like you should be able to neutralize the defensive tackle if you commit enough guys to it, and you still couldn't do it. I also like the way that Aaron Donald wasn't this character. We see a lot of guys on D-line who they're great players, and they're also kind of looked at as villains and evil for one way or another, whether it's Deacon Jones head slapping or Warren Sapp and everything he was into. Aaron Donald just dominated at football and was this big, lovable teddy bear otherwise that everybody liked, and he was kind and gentle, and there's all these pictures of him with his daughter. It's like he didn't have to live that I'm the baddest guy on the planet mentality. I also think there's only been one time in history that there's been a Super Bowl MVP at defensive tackle, and it was way back in Super Bowl 12. I really think he should have been Super Bowl MVP against the Bengals, and the way that shook out was Cooper Kupp got the award because Aaron Donald made the biggest play of the season on the last play of the season for them, and of course all the dumb votes were already in by then because that's how Super Bowl MVP works. So I think he should have been the first Super Bowl MVP at defensive tackle since Super Bowl 12. And then lastly, as far as how the Rams look, I remember the first handful of years that Matthew Stafford was in the league, he had this incredible luxury of having Megatron. And if things go wrong, just throw it up to 81 and just go ride 81. And then Calvin Johnson retired. And it's like, all right, let's see what Matthew Stafford's made of. There's a little bit of that now with Sean McVay. Is that you got to come in, Sean, as the youngest coach ever with the best defensive player in the league and just ride him. And now he's gone. So there's a little bit of we're going to see what we're made of. And to Peter's point, he's already years ahead of it. He's looking at the offensive line. He's doing things differently. I'm on record and I will continue to be. I think Sean McVay is the best coach in the NFL. I think he is #1 out of 32. And his coaching piece de resistance was last year when that Rams team was in the playoffs. I think they're going to be fine. I'm almost to the point with the Rams like I am with the Steelers where I just blind pick them to be in the playoffs. I can't wait to watch McVay have to coach more because 99 is gone. I still think they're going to be successful. They have the best coach in the league.
I love all the layers to that. I love the touchback to the young guys that are on the defense that he probably influenced to remarkably in their career. Like Aaron Donald probably has no idea as to the capacity he affected some of those young guys like Kobe Turner. Albert Breer at Sports Illustrated has a really cool article out right now where he touches back on Jeff Fisher when he first started with the Rams, when Donald first got there, and how, Coach Fish is like, I got to teach these guys how to practice properly without pads on, because it's like a new concept coming out of college. And then here comes Aaron Donald, and he's like, oh my God, he's wrecking practice, and he doesn't have pads on. Like, you already knew the damage he was going to ensue. It's an awesome article if you want to go take a read on it, on Aaron Donald. It's an incredible career. I hope that, Peter, to your point, if he's doing the Hollywood thing and the LA thing, that he has a prolonged impact on the players that the Rams bring through for a long time, because he'll be around.
Yeah, look, they named the gym at the University of Pittsburgh after Aaron Donald because he donated all the money to build it. So Pittsburgh is always going to be home for him, and that was always a rumor forever that he was going to end up with the Steelers at some point. But L.A. has taken to him, and his family, and of course his wife Erica, they have really taken to L.A. So I don't think he's going to be a stranger. I think you're going to see him at a lot of Rams things. But I'm telling you, I look at him as an action hero. I honestly do, and I don't think that's goofy. I think he could do it, and he's young enough to pursue whatever he wants, and he's got enough money and enough accomplishments where he never has to look back. Awesome career, and the best is maybe just yet to come.